Because one of the things that we talk about a lot in our obedience training, especially kind of more complex obedience training, but any really ultimately, is this concept called reward placement. Like, where do I actually physically deliver the reward for a given behavior, right? So for instance, if I'm asking my dog to down in front of me and my dog downs, and I say yes and step back and the dog comes and gets the reward from me, that means that dog is coming towards me to get the reward over and over again. So if I do that 100 times, your dog downs like this. They down forward. They don't down where they are, they down coming forward. Why? Because they want to be closer to where they think the reward's going to be delivered, right? So that might make that behavior worse. So if I wanted my dog to stay put, I might say down and then take the reward to them. I might say down and throw the reward behind them so that they don't want to come forward, so that I can deliver the reward in a way. If my dog sits in front of me and I reward with my right hand over here, my dog sits and I say yes, and I give my dog a reward with my right hand. I do that 100 times and the dog starts sitting crooked facing my right side, right? The reward, the dog's pulled towards where they expect the reward to be. So reward placement is a way for us to create and strengthen behavior, and we use it a lot. If you're rewarding stays, distant stays, do you go back to the dog and give him a reward, or do you release him to come to you to get the reward? Right? Most of the time we go back to them, right? Because if I'm across the field and I release my dog in a stay, that dog starts in the stay, wants to creep forward, gets unsteady. So reward placement helps me maintain that. I go back and give you the reward right down on the ground between your feet. I don't even go back to you and let you up to get it. I go back and give you a reward down low, so the dog wants to stay down low, right? So that strengthens the behavior. Well, if I've given the dog additional information with my markers, then that can help. Some of those alternative cues that I was talking about that become markers in a sense, around behind, that round behind behavior that we teach all the time, we use it a lot in healing, right? Because what is one of the big problems people have in healing? The dog getting in front of them, what we call forging, right? The dog wants to be too far forward, right? So we produce rewards in the initial stages, we produce rewards back here to keep the dog back, but eventually I can chain an additional behavior. That works while I have the reward in hand and can give it there, but what happens later on when we need to move rewards out of sight? This is a huge problem with people. If you're a companion dog trainer, this is where how many people have ever told you, my dog works great as long as I have food in my hands, but as soon as I don't have food, he doesn't listen to me at all, right? That's somebody that jumped a whole bunch of training steps is all that happened, right? There's a process for, you have visible rewards, and the visible rewards are actually driving the creation of the behavior. And over time, you have the process of moving the rewards out of sight and making the dog make you produce the rewards with their behavior, right? And so that dog then doesn't see a reward, doesn't know there's one there. They do something, I mark it, and then I produce the reward afterwards. And the dog's like, oh, look at that, magically. There's always a reward available potentially, and I don't need to see it to know it's there. So there's going to be a process of working through that, right? And so when I move the reward out of sight, I can't use reward placement anymore, right? Because I have to get it out. And by the time I get it out, the dog's not doing what they were doing a second ago, right? So these markers that give additional information help me maintain the things I taught with reward placement when I no longer have the reward ready to deliver. So if my dog has a tendency to want to get in front of me, of course I reward back here a lot. And then when I no longer have rewards in my hands, I teach the dog to go around behind me for a reward. And then I can have a reward in my pocket or whatever I'm healing, and I say around, he dives around behind me, and then I break out and I get the reward out and give it to him afterwards, right, at that point. But now he expects, when he's here, that he's going to have to go behind me. So he doesn't want to be way out in front of me because it's harder to go behind me when he's way out here, so he stays back here. And so now that's a marker. Technically, it's a cue for a behavior to go behind me, but through classical conditioning, if I do it 500 or 1,000 times, my dog, every time I say around, my dog's like, reward's coming. I gave him a reward. He has a classically conditioned response to that, but it also gave him additional information, which allows me to maintain some of the things that I taught when the rewards are no longer handy, which is huge, right? This is essential work for competitive dog trainers, anybody that's trying to make very refined behaviors and working dog behaviors. But it's also something that's useful in pet dog training, right? We do the same kinds of things. Like for leash walking stuff, I teach around behind to pet dog clients, right? What do your dog want to get behind? Just teach him to go behind you for food on this side, right? And so when he's walking nicely, you say behind, he jumps around behind and does that. Or we're teaching leash walking and the dog's in a good spot, and when I release them, I'll spin in front of him like this and feed him here. instead of like, oh, he's here and I'm bringing a reward over like this, which makes him want to pull across my body and get in front of me, right? So we can use these in other situations too. Like it's possible to use them in companion dog training and stuff like that. You're not likely to do the number of repetitions. The average person isn't going to do the number of repetitions to build it and maintain it, but it's a potential use for sure, right? Absolutely.